the first thing we have to do is we have to take this string and separate it into an array of individual people. Now, the Ruby method that I usually use when I want to deal with this is called dot split. So I would say array of people, or whatever you want to call it, is equal to list of people dot split every time I come across a comma. That's the first thing I would do. Then I would randomly sort them into pairs. Now, this is where things get a little complicated. How do you know when the pairs are finished? How do you make sure you can handle edge cases? That's a little bit outside the scope of this, and I would usually go into that more extensively in an advanced version. But here's how I would approach this problem. So what I have here is, say in my gift giver application, I have a bunch of people like me, you, them, us, somebody else, and Shakira, something like that. I would go through and want to split each of these people by the comma so that my array now contains everyone in here as separate values of strings. So it should look something like this, in an array, and each one is separated by, each one of these is going to be a string inside my array. So now that I have this new little nice data structure here, I can start to organize my code around manipulating this array, and that is fantastically easier in my opinion. So now when I randomly sort them into pairs, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to create an array called current pair and set that equal to an array, and groups and set that equal to an array as well. Then I'm going to create a loop. I think loops are the easiest way to make sure this works effectively. I'm going to say while array of people dot length is greater than 0. So as long as there is something in the array, I am going to excuse me. Oh man, Cloud9, work with me here. Thanks. Then I'm going to end. Is there a do after a while loop in Ruby? Did I get that wrong? There is. Why does it keep giving me this syntax? Oh, do I not put these after?
You don't need the do.
You don't need the do. Okay, cool. Why is it giving me this funkiness? Okay, whatever. Oh, there's no parentheses in Ruby. Is that true? You're right. I might mess this up. I'm a JavaScript guy. Excuse my ignorance here. While array of people.length is greater than 0, I'm going to grab a random student from the array of people array. And I'm going to say random person, sorry, not student, random person. But if I'm teaching this, I would do it with students probably. Random person is equal to array of people.sample, which is a fun little method that randomly selects someone from the array. Now, once I've sampled this array for a random person, I'm then going to push them current pair dot push random person and push them into the current pair array. Then I'm going to say down here a little bit further down, if current pair dot length is greater than 1, which means there's 2 people in the array. Oh wait, no parentheses. And I'm going to push the current pair into the groups array. So what that should do is it should look in the current pair array and say, are there 2 people in there? If there are, push it into the groups array. So now I have a 2D array, an array full of arrays of pairs of people. And once the array of people.length is 0, there's no one left, or if there is one person left if there's only one person left in the array, or in the current pair array, and I have an uneven, like an odd number of people, then I would want to handle that edge case as well. But In the sake of time, I'm not going to do that here. I'm going to assume that all things work well in my app, which is never the case. Don't do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then at the very end, once I have a groups full of pairs of people, I am going to return groups like this. So this should now be a 2D array of people, but here's my one problem right now. After I grab a random person from the array, I need to delete that person from the array, don't I? Now, we learned a delete at method in Ruby, but there's another really good one called delete if. Let's go delete if. There it is. And go to delete if item, and you just give it a little, here, let's just copy this right here, and let's take a look at how we could use it. Or not copy it if, okay, settle down. There we go. So we're going to use that right here, and we're going to delete it. So we're going to say array of people dot delete if, and then person, right? So we're going to loop over every item in the array of people and delete if that person is equal to the random person. And this is actually a block. You can do this like this too. You can say just like do. I think that's how you write it in Ruby. Am I correct? Do, and then make this like a little indented thing right there, and end, just to keep for posterity's sake so that we have the same syntax throughout the entire thing. And now this while loop should loop over, grab a random person by sampling it, push them into a current pair, delete them from the array of people, and then if the current pair.length is greater than 1, if there's 2 people in it, push it into the groups array. So now I should have a 2D array of people. Now again, yes, go for it.
Don't you have to empty out the current pair array?
Ah, exactly, and that's the next thing I'll get into. Exactly. No, and this is the error that I get every time I do this. Ruby passes around arrays by reference. So every time the current pair is pushed into the groups array, if we don't go back and reset it to an empty array, this will not work. So if the current pair.length is greater than 1, I have to reset current pair equal to an empty array. Reinitialize it as an empty array so that I can then go back and push new people into it. And now I finally have a method. How many lines is this, by the way? Like a 25, 26 line method. This is why you don't want to put it inside a post route, because that's a lot of stuff going on. And let's see what happens, shall we? Where are we storing the results of running this method? Does anyone remember? Right there, this sort and pair method returns the groups array, which should be a 2D array full of pairs of people in arrays. So it should look like this. Groups should look like this, and then a bunch of arrays in there with like me, you, them, Shakira, somebody else, something like this, right? And only if it's an even number of people. Her, him, etc., etc. So this is how it should look. And what we're going to do next is we're going to pass this value to a new view, iterate over each of the arrays, and display them in ERB. And now you're about to see why ERB can be so powerful as well. If you don't have code that works, don't worry. We're going to check to make sure it works. And I'm going to give you this code in Slack so you can play around with it as well if you would like to. Is that cool? Okay, awesome. So I'm going to end this video here. And back in our application controller, we are using this gift giver model, the method in the giftgiver.rb file right here. We require the model at the top, the gift giver model, and then we use it down here in the post results route and store that value in final result. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a results ERB page and iterate over the at final result variable so that we can display all of our pairs in an ERB page.